If you've come to hear insightful words of wisdom of how to do reflective practice in teaching, you probably want to hear Dr. Farrell. He's in Gemma Hall in room 107. But he and I are both doing similar things this hour. And in fact, in many respects, he's a mentor for me. Not quite as much in reflection, but in general ELT. And so we've shared a lot the last few years, and it just happens that we're speaking at the same time on a similar subject. I chose the topic beyond words because as a teacher, I talk a lot. Maybe too much. And what happens after the class when we're no longer required to talk? What do we do? What happens? Well, today I want to share with you some of my outtakes, some of the videos of time in the classroom where I've looked and said, why did I do that? And in my mind, some of them are outtakes. There are things I'm less pleased about. Other things I'm perfectly fine with. Some of them I'm even happy about. So today we're going to use video, and I'm inviting you to work in small groups to share your ideas, your perceptions of what you see. What do you think the teacher was doing? And this is a launching pad for you, because I hope by showing you my maybe weaknesses, that it will encourage you to do similar. Because the fact is, especially in Korea, more and more schools are now using video to grade teachers. And if you're lucky, you get to sit in the assessment panel. They recorded your class, and then 3 people are watching your video, and maybe you're invited to participate in a discussion. So my point is this: if you are doing this, you're controlling it, and you're able to draw out of it things that are beneficial to you. If you're not doing it, if you're just letting them do it, then they're the ones who are doing the evaluation. So this is not only a way to improve your teaching, it's an empowerment tool. Because you can show the school, I'm doing this, I'm improving me. So that's kind of the focus here. I'm going to start off with something about metaphors. Now, you heard a little bit about metaphors in several sessions yesterday. And let's just take a look. Which metaphors have you used to describe the teaching learning process, or the teacher, or roles for participants? Which metaphor fits you, and what metaphor are you aiming for? Ooh, not nice. Metaphor are you aiming for? So I'm just going to give you a minute to think. Metaphor, you know, teacher as a river, or teaching as the sea, or whatever it is. Take a moment, think about what you think your metaphor is for you or for your environment, and maybe share with your neighbor. Go ahead. I'd like to share a couple of metaphors that we commonly hear. Anybody recognize this one? It's often called the empty vessel, the jug and the mug, the pitcher and cup, and the concept behind it. The image is the teacher is the font of knowledge, the source of information, and the learner is this tabla rasa, this blank sheet, this empty cup, this recipient of the teacher's wisdom. And that's very, very old school. And it probably very, very appropriate in some settings. And I'm not bashing it. It's not mine. Is it yours? Can anybody guess these 3? What does it mean, the captain? In charge? Leader? Knows where they're going? The decider? Explorer? I hadn't thought of that one. That's good. Navigator. Some people use the metaphor of the bus driver in the same way. It's like, I'm going to decide where we're going, I'm going to decide how we go there, and you're all along for the ride. And maybe with the captain, you have to work. Right? At least on a bus, you don't have to push or row or something. And the baker or the chef, and what does it imply?
You have the recipe and you have here the ingredients.
Nice. Anything more? I envision one more element. Mixing, matching, kneading the dough, right? Shaking, adding a bit of spice here and there. Sure. And the third? The gardener grows, planting seeds. More than grow, there's another word we sometimes use. Nurturing. Sure. Any of you choose any of these? There's so many more. We have so much to do in so little time. Anybody choose facilitator? I don't have a picture for facilitator. Google Images didn't find anything that was interesting. Which is interesting because I don't know what a facilitator is. I understand the dictionary definition, but put it into application. Okay, fácil, all right? To make things easier, but apply it in a classroom. I'm not bashing anybody. I'm just the kind of person who says, if it's popular, I suspect it. And I'm a bit of a contrarian. Financially, that hurts me sometimes. But, so I choose not facilitator for myself simply because it's too popular. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I guarantee none of you can guess my metaphor. That's not it. Although I've been known to talk too much. When I did my CTEFLA, my Certificate in Teaching English Foreign Language to Adults, my trainer one day said, "Robert, shut up." Student thinking time. Not just student talking time, student thinking time. No, that's not my metaphor. Although Jack Richards has called this the walking tape recorder as the qualification for native speakers of English. Just push the button and English comes out. That's my metaphor. A feather? It's not a quill pen, it's just a feather. Any guesses? Bingo! What? Tickle what? Tickle their curiosity, tickle their brain. When people are tickled, they react. I want students to spit out English. If you at least put English on the table, we can sort it out. Somebody else used the word vomit the other day. I don't quite like that one. But, you know, I tell students, you know, just do it. The Nike image, right? Put the words out there and let the other person help you. But if you never open your mouth, they can't help you. We're not mind readers. I'm not a teacher of mind reading. All right. So before I can show videos, I need to let you know kind of where I'm coming from. So let's talk a little bit about lesson aims. What aims, objectives, targets do you have in your classes, in general? And how do you operationalize that? Nice, good military word, yeah? How do you put that into practice? Are you consistent with your aims, objectives, targets, and the way you implement them? And should you be? Take a couple minutes, talk to the people around you about aims, objectives, targets in language teaching in your classes. Now, it is true we could spend 45 minutes talking about aims, objectives, and I hope that you're in an environment, yes, it's morning, you are in an environment where you get to share thoughts like that with your co-teachers, people around you, in the teacher's room, a bit of a drink after hours, and you talk about things like aims, objectives, and in your work environment. In order to understand the videos that I'm sharing, I need to share a little bit of mine. So my classes are content-based. I teach in the Department of Public Administration at my university, and my courses are major courses. Okay? Students get credits in their major. The classes are often called English for Public Administration. So it's a blend of two topics. It's the CBI or the CLIL focus. Okay? There's a very strong content orientation, but language targets in every class. Public administration, public service. Language is not just the key vocabulary words. We work on grammar points, and you'll see some in the videos. And also important to me is academic and thinking skills. Creativity, critical thinking, academic skills in general. My beliefs as a teacher is that students want and need to hear authentic English lectures. Now, for a lot of people, they don't think that way, or they're in a teaching environment that's completely different. They're running a conversation class, and they may have the image of the teacher talks 10 minutes or less in their classroom. And that's valid. We each have to set up our parameters, what we're teaching in. You need to know what mine are as you watch. Listening should be challenging. Okay? I don't want students to understand everything. If they do, we're not stretching their brains. We're not pushing them. You know, bodybuilding. Until you're sweating, you're not doing anything, right? You're not building muscle until you're tired. The beginning is just warming up. And I also believe, and this is not the case in every school, it wasn't the case in my previous university, that if students know the class is challenging, they will prep for it. They will do a little preparation. If it's easy, they walk in and say, oh, teacher, what page are we on? You know? But if they know the class is challenging, they will prep, at least some. Educational environment. My clothes today are the clothes I teach in. My learners want to prepare for the public servant exam, which includes an English exam, most of them. They're also interested in general English. Many of them want to be able to travel overseas, okay? But they do have a language test, a traditional, mostly written, some speaking language test to prepare for. So yeah, there's a lot of extrinsic motivation there. Do you write lesson plans? This is the lesson plan design I use when I teach teachers. And I always say, you can modify it. Why do students care? That's my student motivator, you know. And you don't just say, well, because they want to get a good score on the test, so they'll listen. We can do better than that. For this lesson, for this learning objective, can we tie it into student interest? If you can increase that extrinsic and or intrinsic motivation, you have a better chance of having success in that lesson. Are you using a book or other materials? Are there other constraints? In my school, there is a high degree of pressure to use PowerPoint or something similar in every class. Now, the hard part is the machines don't always work. But we're expected to use technology in every classroom. Technology doesn't include cassette player. You can use it, but that's not what they're talking about. What are your teaching aims, objectives, teaching points, they used to call them, learning objectives, right? Target language, language skills and systems. What are your other aims? That includes your content aims, that includes your critical thinking aims, whatever it is for that class or for that part of a class. Assumptions, anticipated problems, accessible outcomes, step by step. You'll notice it says ESA there. When I do teacher training, one of the things I use is Harmer's book. Right? I also talk about Jim Scrivener's ARC and various numbers of other things. In Korea, there's III. And, okay. Now, but do I actually do a lesson plan for every class? No. My lesson plans are often about 8 words, which involve identifying the language targets and the material I'm going to work from, because we often use edited readings from professional materials. Okay, so for each of the videos that follow, what do you see? What do you think Robert is thinking while he's doing it, before he was doing it, and maybe after he was doing it, as he leads to the next thing? And how would you grade this teaching? I invite you to take out a piece of paper and scribble down little notes. The video clips are between 30 seconds and 2 minutes long. And after a clip, you'll have time to share with your friends.
Okay, it's that time. How are you guys this morning? Long time no see. 7 days since our last class. You've forgotten all your English, right? Just like starting the semester over again. Do you remember what we're talking about today? Driver's license. Good job. And anything particular about driver's license? Anything particular based on what you wrote on the chalkboard last class and what I put up on the 학생 자료? Do you remember what it is in particular we're talking about? A little loud occasion. I'm still not quite hearing. A little louder, please. Don't be shy.
Simplification.
Simplification. Oh. Anybody else? Well, from last class, we wrote a bunch of ideas on the chalkboard, and unfortunately somebody erased a bunch of them, but I got some of them. And then my night class did the same project. Okay? Brainstorming, what ideas do you want to talk about this semester? They wrote their ideas on the board, I copied those down. From that, I chose one idea for today's class. The person who announced it actually didn't say only driver's license. She said, a little bit more. Do you remember what it was? Maybe not. Did you look at the 학생 자료? What did the 학생 자료 talk about? Young drivers, yeah. In particular, in our context, remembering what somebody mentioned on the chalkboard, what kind of young driver?
Okay. That clip goes on another 20 seconds, but doesn't make any more points. So, hope you scribbled down some things. Oh my, ooh, I feel bad. He wrote a lot. Share with your partner, what did you see, what did you like, what did you dislike, what was the teacher thinking, and I might share a little bit, but I might not. Go ahead. Anybody want to share a couple things you saw? Go ahead. Nice and loud.
Like what you're doing now, you put the 3 questions on the board and you're having us discuss it rather than just asking us point blank what you're doing there. You're just asking your students point blank the questions rather than getting them to discuss in small groups before asking them.
Oh, we haven't started class yet.
What?
That's the first 2 minutes of class.
Yeah, okay.
So we haven't started the discussion time yet. What was I doing in the first 2 minutes of class?
I like the fact that you got an answer from a student that you could not understand, and you asked them several times to speak up, and I have a really tough time with students. I can't understand them, I can't hear them, I can't hear what they're saying, I can't understand what they're trying to give me an answer, and I don't know what it is. So.
Actually in Korea, speaking Korean language, people speak more softly. And now maybe it's because I'm an American or maybe because I'm just where I grew up. But in English in general, we do speak louder. So one of the things we have to teach Korean learners is when you speak English, you have to speak louder than when you speak Korean. Or else foreigners will think that you're too secretive, right? Those soft, silent people. It's like, you've got too many secrets. You have a black heart. I teach that. Now, we can all agree or disagree about that, but the message is that we do generally speak louder in English. It's a problem, and so yes, I work on that. Americans in general. And you're the role model. No, I'm joking. And as I said, it's where I'm from, okay? And we all teach what we know. We all teach where we're from. And so, okay, good point. Yes?
You were coming in and you were setting up your computer, it looked like, and you were throwing out a question, but you were actually more focused on the computer, and you were waiting for an answer, and you weren't connecting.
Absolutely, I agree.
Here you are.
One of the problems with technology. is that if you're not all set up before the class starts, you set up during class time, and that's one of the things I hate about technology. Especially my campus, the system requires basically 3 levels of entry. 3 levels of entry. It'd be much easier to just stick a USB in and light up the PowerPoint, but that's not how we're asked to teach. So the camera was set up before class. I walked into the classroom, it was like 9:59 and 30 seconds. That's reality sometimes, because there's people coming out of the class or whatever, and so yeah, I don't like that. I agree, absolutely. You'll see another clip of the same. What else was I doing?
Here, attempting to access prior knowledge from the previous class, and really thinking about what the current class is going to give.
Thank you, that's one of my notes. One of my notes is, what is he doing today? Starting through elicitation. Elicitation is the word we use in ELT, right? Do you remember last class? Accessing okay. And there's one particular word that I used a lot that I'm not happy about using, and it was in particular. In particular. Now, actually, I did want to use that. That was on my lesson plan, because I want learners to become familiar with different modes of speaking. In particular, specifically. Remember, I'm teaching in a kind of quasi-tech department, public administration, preparing people for public service. We use a lot of that kind of language. You'll also notice that I kind of, not exactly mumbled, but I had a lot of extra words. I was not a minimalist speaker. Go back to one of my earlier points about teaching students, you know, a challenging form of English, pushing them. They don't need to understand all those words, but they do need to understand that many people in English do talk that way. So they need to become comfortable with that form of English. It's not my job to make their life easy, so they go out into the real world and go, oh my God, it's hard. If they face the challenges in the classroom, the real world will be easier. That's my thinking. You don't have to agree. But that's part of the metaphor or the guide that leads my teaching. So for each of you, you want to do the same thing. Think about what is it that are your objectives and aims and targets, and then decide, are you meeting those? Yeah, one more before we move on.
Are you also checking note-taking skills?
Not at this time. Not at this time. Okay.
But PP form. Drive, drove, or drive, and driven. Have driven. How long have you driven? How many miles have you driven this week? How many kilometers? I'm sorry. We're PP. Drive, drove, driven. Drive, driven.
Okay, what did you see?
Just on the other one, I thought when you said good job, that's encouraging, and of course your dress is really professional, and your gestures are really good. You just gave some examples there, which I thought were good. She mentioned, just to step back a minute, about when you asked about last week, maybe it was too broad for them to remember. It should have been maybe more focused, more specific. It was really inclusive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in the previous week, we had only one class. It was a Monday class, and then Thursday was a holiday. So we were back for the first time since the last class. And the last class had been basically a brainstorming project of what are we going to talk about this semester? What are going to be our topics for discussion? So I think it was narrow enough for them, but it was intended to be broad. Thank you. In the last clip, it was about 20 seconds. I've got 2 notes of things
I just have a query in the last
Yeah.
clip. You asked a number of questions. Did the students answer?
Yes, but only a few. I felt like I didn't wait long enough.
That's right.
My waiting time was too short.
I don't know, as an American, I don't know how I would respond to how long have you driven. I would say, how long have you been driving? Sorry,
No, I'm American also, and it's a dialect thing. My parents are from the Midwest, and they talk like that. How long have you driven? In terms of, you just got here from X place, how long have you driven? Not how long have you been driving in your lifetime, but how long have you driven recently? But it is, after the class, I realized that might not have been the best model. You're right, I agree. More limited in scope. Anything else?
You gave some examples. You repeated the 3 different text formats so they could hear it. So you missed the first time you had a chance to catch it the second time.
And you missed the first 3-4 seconds of the clip. We're talking about PP. Drive, drove or drived, and so again, it was elicitation, and it was a bit of grammar, because the topic was young drivers. This is the same class, talking about young drivers. So there was a grammar point in there, because they don't know this one. And in the same class later, we were talking about drinking and driving. Drink, drank, drunk. But what do most Korean students say? Because the past tense is drink, drunk, drunken. And I just simply tell them, where I'm from in America, we consider that archaic English, 200-year-old. But different countries have made progressions at different times, and in some countries, drink, drunk, drunken is still the current form. Where I'm from, drink, drank, drunk. Drunken is used as an adjective.
Okay, it's discussion time. 4? 4 can work. 4 works very nicely. All right. Back 4. Front to middle 4. 4. That's 5. 4. That's
What do you see? Very quick. Making groups. Who made the groups? Why did I do that?
Because they were sitting close to each other.
It's fast and easy.
It's fast and easy. Is it ideal?
No.
Depends on what you're doing.
Depends on what you're doing. At preface is that I ask students every class from the first of the semester, I ask them each day to come in and sit with a different person because of the value of hearing different Englishes. Yes, they're your friend and you can sit with them in the other classes, but in this class it's really helpful to hear other voices, even if they're Korean voices. Your partner is your coach. Get different coaches. So if they do that, then making groups is easy, or partners is easy, right? They've already got their partner. But very often they don't, and so sometimes we have to do the more complicated groups. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1's over here, 2's over there. But yeah, I made groups. I made them fast and easy. Was it the best choice? After your class, you can decide. Yes?
That class year suit was different, so I'm assuming that was.
That's right, it's a different day.
By then, were they familiar with that grouping, like you were circling? It looked like the people who were sitting had no response to you doing the groups. Like didn't seem to move at all. Or show interest.
Welcome to Korea. yeah. You have to, I believe you very often have to push them a little to get, when you get towards the end of the semester, it's easier. These are from this semester. All these clips are from September, October of this year. Okay? Yeah, good point.
okay. As a writer, I cut my hand to say hello, hello, look at me, stop, please. Not trying to be rude. You have 15 minutes. That's a long time to talk about anything you want to talk about related to the question, the idea, the issue, the problem, the opportunity related to young drivers, especially in Korea. You can talk about your own experiences, talk about people you know.
Okay? Do you like that? Most people don't. How do you get the attention of your students? That works for you? In university? My students laugh at me when I do that. That's elementary school. We're adults. Raise your hand, the mouth goes shut, look at the teacher. Elementary school, right? University students just laugh at that, and they ignore it, in my experience. Yeah? Any other ideas? I'm very receptive to ideas.
Light, just turn it. Or a tone, some sound, like, I don't know.
I've thought of bringing a gong.
Bob, do you know why I do that? It's from cooperative learning, and it's supposed to be respectful.
No, I agree. I have tried it in the past and not had success, but maybe I didn't go in with enough belief in it. Maybe I didn't promote it long enough. Raise your hand.
It comes from cognitive learning and it's supposed to be respectful. It's sort of like, hey, shut up. It's like, you watch me, you know this, you raise your hand that goes around the room. So the students take responsibility and and then this going.
I tried reading the class.
I tried what?
Reading the class repeatedly until everyone reads that.
Hello? Hi?
Oh, louder.
But yeah. Go ahead.
It could be at the beginning of the whole course, you could ask, what people think and all together just decide something simple. It could have pairs, give them some choices or say what ways that you'd like to.
We could do that, ask people what they think. What happens if you teach 3, 4, 5, 7 classes in a semester and each class comes up with a different method? It could be challenging. I'm sorry, I'm not that flexible. Did you raise your hand? No. Okay, well, let's move on to the next one and then we'll come. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a query, something I use for that issue of getting students' attention. Raising the hand I use in elementary school. But for the adult classes and the senior university students, I've given them a specific time, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. I have a timer and the bell goes. Everyone knows,
Yeah.
no, it's not that bad. But everyone knows time's up and they do tend to respect it.
Okay, good.
So you never try with your friend? No? You try. And you try to count. And you're very keen to you try to
Because of time constraints, I'm going to stop that clip there. It actually gets long. What am I doing? Writing on the board. What am I writing on the board? Things I hear, not only mistakes. Good things, bad things, things that maybe on a content level we need to discuss a little bit more. So there's language issues. Okay, so it's not immediate error correction, but if we played the whole clip, you would see that there is some discussion of what I heard after, right? It's not just practicing your Konglish, as some people would call it, right? But on the other hand, I want them to feel comfortable enough, to feel free enough to try things. There's no name calling later. It's like, oh, in group 3, Jungmin said. No, it's just like, oh, I heard, right? Is it good? Is it bad? Some people believe in immediate intervention. Some people believe in letting it go.
Might be a great advertising for surgery, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know, that's not my field. Yeah. But it was interesting that we came to entertainers through advertisement, which is not something that was on the board. So when you're talking, new ideas come to mind. Brainstorming. When you hear somebody's idea, it pops a new idea in your head, just say it. Okay, good.
The last 2 words I said? No, the last 2 words I said were, okay, good. But I was turning to the board. If you didn't hear it, maybe they didn't hear it. And I joke with my students early in the semester that I'm not the kindest teacher. I don't compliment a lot. So when I do, I really mean it. I also do things like, wrong answer, with a smile, right? Because I want them to know I'm not the kindest teacher, but there are right answers. There are okay answers, and sometimes there are not okay answers, because I'm preparing you for the real world. And in the real world, when you make a mistake, somebody calls you on it, right? If you're in a company and you make a mistake, you get called into the boss's office. You got to know. So there's some of that. There was a lot of body language. I like body language. I use it a lot. Maybe well, maybe not. Another thing I said is, it's not something I know. You know, it's not from, I don't know. Do you say I don't know in your classes?
So let's take a look at research. Why are we talking about research in a class that you think of as a conversation class or a discussion class? The name of the class is, I'm doing public administration and English, and I told you.
How much did our learners understand of that? Yeah. Now again, I want to push. I want them to find it challenging. But that was probably overboard. That was probably overboard. But the other thing I want to point out from here is that in any English class, whether you're using Interchange, Headways, whatever book, and I love books, okay? I try to find a book that fits me best, and I use it very often. Not this semester, actually. The way the courses are set up, I'm not using a textbook. But most classes, I use a textbook probably 2 out of 3 hours. But I also sprinkle in other things. So why are we talking about research? The answer is, because it's a discussion class, you can't talk about what you don't know about. So what are some simple research tools? Brainstorming is a research tool. I talk about building a T-chart, you know, a pro and a con kind of a chart. These are things that we do in my classes because not only is it a public administration class, not only is it an English class, but there's other skills that we teach. Now we are essentially out of time. I have 2 more clips, but I'm not here to teach you anything. My job today was hopefully to encourage you to use this medium or other to reflect a little more on what you do in your classrooms, and then think about, what do I think I'm supposed to be doing? What am I doing by looking at the video? And how do I want to change that? Thank you.